There's a strange principle at the heart of quantum physics that breaks every rule you were taught about space, time, and separation. It's not a theory. It's been proven in lab after lab, experiment after experiment. It says this: when two particles become entangled, they remain connected no matter how far apart they are. Alter the state of one and the other responds instantly. Not quickly, instantly, even if they're light years apart. This alone violates everything classical physics says is possible. Because no signal should travel faster than light, and yet entangled particles do not ask permission from the speed limit of the universe. They simply respond as if distance doesn't exist, as if time is irrelevant, as if in some hidden layer of reality everything is already one. Now pause, let that land, because this isn't just about particles. This is about you. This is about consciousness. This is about identity. The quantum world doesn't separate the observer from the observed. It doesn't divide mind from matter. It says your focus collapses possibility into form. Your attention selects reality. But more than that, it says entanglement is not limited to electrons and photons. It may very well apply to consciousness itself. And this changes everything because it means that your highest self, your future self, your healed self, the version of you who already lives the reality you've been trying to manifest, might not be something you have to build from scratch. It might already exist. And more than that, it might already be entangled with you. This isn't poetic optimism. This is grounded in quantum mechanics. Let's be precise. When two particles become entangled, they share a wave function. That means their probabilities are no longer independent. They are part of the same equation, a unified system, and the collapse of one immediately determines the outcome of the other regardless of distance. Now imagine your consciousness as a non-local field, not trapped inside your skull, but extended throughout space, connected to every potential version of you across infinite timelines. The moment your internal state changes, your field shifts, and through entanglement it begins to affect the probability space where your other versions reside. Not metaphorically, and literally, your signal modifies the wave function of your identity across the multiverse. This is not science fiction. This is what David Bowie called the implicate order, a deeper hidden layer of reality where all things are already unfolded into one another. He believed that what we perceive as separation is just an illusion of surface appearances. Beneath that surface, all points in space and time are connected not symbolically but structurally. In that view, your future is not something you move toward, it's something you tune into. And the mechanism of that tuning, your frequency, your state of being, your internal coherence. So let's reframe the question. Not how do I get to my dream reality, but how do I align with the version of me who's already living it? Because if entanglement is real, and it is, then that version of you is not an imaginary construct. It's a real coherent pattern in the quantum field, and it is already emitting a signal. One that your consciousness can feel, one that your nervous system can attune to, one that you can begin to collapse into form, not by force, but by resonance. But here's the deeper insight. The quantum field doesn't care about your desires. It doesn't respond to your words, your effort, or your goals. It responds to coherence. It responds to the frequency of who you are being. And coherence only emerges when your thoughts, emotions, and body are aligned in a single signal. This is why most people never experience quantum shifts. They are thinking one thing, feeling another, and doing something else entirely. Their field is noisy, dissonant, contradictory. So the quantum responds with static, delay, fragmentation, not because it's punishing, but because it's precise. And this is why understanding entanglement matters. Because once you realize you're already connected to your future self, to your dream reality, the question becomes, how clear is the signal you're sending? Is your field stable enough to create collapse? Is your nervous system calm enough to hold the transmission? Is your identity consistent enough to maintain the connection? Most people try to manifest by visualizing outcomes they don't believe in, repeating affirmations their body doesn't trust, and taking action from a place of fear. That is not coherence. That is interference, and interference is the enemy of entanglement, because entanglement requires purity. It requires precision. It requires a signal so clear that the field cannot ignore it. And when that signal locks in, when your system becomes still, aligned, surrendered, the field responds. Not in metaphor, in physics, probabilities collapse, timelines shift, opportunities emerge from nowhere, not because they were created, but because you finally tuned in to the version of you that could receive them. This is the core shift we must make to stop trying to build the future through effort and start remembering that we're already entangled with it through being. Your dream reality is not a reward you earn. It's a frequency you access. And the only thing that separates you from it is the signal you're sending right now. So if something in you has been sensing a version of yourself that feels freer, truer, more at peace, that's not fantasy. That's entanglement speaking. That's the wave function nudging you to collapse a different path, and the way to do that isn't to try harder. It's to tune deeper because you are not separate from what you seek. You are already entangled with it, and the field is listening. We've been taught to think of the mind as a byproduct of the brain, a set of neurons firing in isolation, a complex machine running a code we call thought. But modern neuroscience, quantum biology, and consciousness research are revealing something far more profound. The mind is not confined to the skull. It is not local, it is not bound by flesh. It is a field expansive, intelligent, and deeply entangled with the fabric of the quantum world. What does that mean? It means that your thoughts don't just stay inside your head. They radiate, they imprint, they interact with the unified field around you. When you think, especially with emotion, your brain generates measurable electromagnetic waves. Your heart amplifies them. Your entire system becomes a transmitter. And those signals don't just bounce around your body. They enter the quantum field. They influence probability. They become part of the informational structure that determines which version of reality collapses into form. Dr. Joe Dispenza refers to this as broadcasting a signal into the field. But it's not just philosophical, it's physiological. When your brain and heart are in a state of coherence, meaning your thoughts and emotions are synchronized, your electromagnetic field becomes highly ordered. And that order is what the quantum responds to. Coherence creates clarity. Clarity creates collapse. This coherence isn't random. It corresponds to brainwave states that reflect deep focus, presence, and intuitive awareness. In high beta, the chaotic, stressed-out frequency most people live in, your brain is noisy, fragmented, reactive, your energy is scattered, and your connection to the field is weak. But when you drop into alpha and theta, the states associated with meditation, deep intuition, and creative visualization, your brain begins to synchronize. And when your brain syncs with your heart, a new field of possibility opens. Studies from the HeartMath Institute show that the heart's electromagnetic field is 60 times more powerful than the brain's, and it can be detected several feet away from the body. This field carries emotional information and influences not just your internal state, but the coherence of those around you. When you are in a state of love, gratitude, or trust, your heart emits a coherent frequency that entrains your brain, and together they broadcast. Signal that speaks fluently to the quantum. Now take this one step further. If your brain and heart can create coherent signals that impact the field, then your entire nervous system becomes a kind of antenna, a quantum portal, and the quality of the signal you send determines which reality you entangle with. This is not spiritual metaphor. This is measurable frequency. This is wave mechanics. Your thoughts and emotions are not private events. They are quantum instructions. And the implications are staggering because it means that the moment you enter a coherent internal state where your beliefs, emotions, and physical sensations align, you become non-local. You step beyond the illusion of separation. You begin to access information that doesn't come from memory, but from the field itself. This is what mystics have described for centuries as revelation, insight, awakening. It's what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. It's what Bo described as the hollow movement, a flowing, undivided wholeness that contains all potential realities at once. But now we have the language of quantum physics and neuroscience to explain what used to be reserved for mystics. And here's the quantum twist. When your inner world stabilizes in coherence, it doesn't just feel good. It becomes a gravitational pull. It draws timelines. It attracts synchronicities. It collapses realities that match the signal you're emitting. And it allows you to entangle literally scientifically with a version of yourself who already lives in that field. Because remember, in the quantum universe, time is not linear. Every version of you exists as a wave function, and the one you experience depends on the version of yourself that your signal resonates with. The future you who lives in alignment, peace,